I'm Gordon Wilson. I'm art department chair here at Whitworth University, and I teach mostly drawing, painting, some figure drawing. Ben Moss was my graduate teacher in my MFA program, and I believe his title was Dean, and I think it was called MFA Program Director and Visiting Critics Program. Usually we'd say Visiting Artist Program. So he was my master teacher for the entire time of my Master of Fine Arts graduate program. And I worked with him teaching as well as outside of the department when I'd be painting on property where he lived as well. Well, I think for artists that we usually feel like there's not a lot of disconnection or not a lot of difference between what we do as artists and what we do in our daily life. And I think he and I and many artists believe in the spiritual quality of not just the artwork, but the act of making the artwork. So it's not just making an interesting surface, but there's a connection with nature, there's a connection with forces beyond us when we're making the art. And I'd say with Ben in particular, if you look at the number of paintings that he's produced over his career, that's evidence of his commitment, really strong commitment to painting over a lifetime. Ben, when he was going to send his work to us for this exhibit, the 278 or whatever number there were a lot of paintings, he had sent me an email and asked if I wanted some canvases that he had stretched, and some of them would have underpainting on them, and I didn't know whether it'd be large or small or in good condition. So I said, sure, I'd take those. And so he sent, actually I haven't counted them, I think I have about 15 canvases, and this is one of them. In a way, as I've painted on these, I've felt like they're sort of a collaboration. My first attraction was just painting on a surface that he'd prepared, and that seemed particularly special to me, especially at this time when he wasn't able to come to the exhibit, but the canvases came, and I could paint on those canvases. So when I paint on this, initially when I made the painting on location, the sky was blue with clouds in it. But in Ben's underpainting, there was this kind of an ochre, raw sienna sort of color on it, and it was right where the sky was, and it had these jagged marks on it, and I thought, well, that would be interesting to include that in the painting. So instead of just painting over it, it was something that I could include in the painting, and that color kind of continued across here. So I think these areas have more warmth and a yellowish color to them than they would if I hadn't painted on his canvas. So his underpainting has a lot to do with what I did on top. You do know something of the worldview of that artist by looking at the painting, the drawing, the sculpture, the glass art, whatever it is that they're doing. You know something about them. The artist may have been intending one thing or a lot of things, and you may look at it and get something very different from it, but that's not wrong. So I think it's really important for people to, rather than think that they don't know how to understand art, or they don't know what the artist meant, or they don't know what the artist is trying to say, instead of doing that, to look at the work and say, well, what am I seeing? What does it mean to me? Rather than trying to figure out what the artist might have meant. So just trust your own judgment.